It's going live.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay, you're live, it says.
Okay, good. Okay, August 2nd, 2019. Those of you online, we welcome you, and those that are here physically. We just found out that the computer don't have the electric. It's going to run out fairly quick, so we're kind of skipping by on our sharing today. We've already been doing some anyway, and we're going to jump right into the lesson. The last thing, of course, your happy money thing went really well.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess eating well, you've been eating out and everything, so the body maybe not quite so much.
I didn't work out as much as possible, but everything else has been good.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so we kind of got basic sharing done anyway before we started. So we'll jump right into the lesson. Hopefully this won't cut out on us too soon. So we're finishing up, as we mentioned, the July outline, because there's still a few things we hadn't covered yet. And we're going to jump right into, let's see. Okay, actually, Biscaglia, I mentioned the book that I was going to talk a little bit about the book. I did mention, I think before, about the 20-year-old, you know, how the love class got started. It was this 20-year-old that, you know, had been really good in academics and everybody, quite an attractive gal. Everybody thought she was doing wonderful, and then all of a sudden she committed suicide one night and didn't even leave a note. And so Dr. Biscaglia was thinking, wow, you know, you really don't know what's going on in a person's mind. You know, they may be putting on a happy face and going through the routine and getting the good grades and everything. So he started this class just to find out, you know, what are you really thinking with the students? And so they had this class, and they would meet once a week and just start sharing. And the more they started sharing and everything on that, and then he realized that everybody, what they really wanted, even though they talk about superficial things sometimes, was just somebody that, you know, really to be accepted, to be loved, to you know, love and be loved. And that's what it ended up just being a love class in brief. And so he talks about, I do want to read a little bit after he got the love class going. Of course, he ended up being the most popular on campus, a lot like the happiness class. And I got over 600 people. This is interesting on love. It talks about, he said, you know, love is something, he says, it's kind of difficult to define in that. And he says, it's something that even if you don't feel like you had that much, you know, you can change and start getting more and more of it. And he says, you can create a new scene. You can only, and then he says, you can only give away what you have. And that's the miracle. So you kind of have to have it to share it a little bit. He says, that's the miracle. If you have love, you can give it. If you don't have it, you don't have it to give. Actually, it's not really even a matter of giving, is it? It's a matter of sharing. Whatever I have, I can share with you. I don't lose it because I still have it. For example, I could teach every reader everything I know. I would still know everything I know. It is possible for me, and not unreasonable, to love everyone with equal intensity and still have all the love energy I have ever had. There are a lot of miracles to being a human being, but this is one of the greatest miracles. And that is really what's quite fascinating about love too, is it's the one thing, actually, the more you give it out, it's almost the more energized you are, and the more you feel it. And in fact, if you don't give it out and you just kind of guard it yourself and you don't share it, then it tends to dissipate. Because love is, love, of course, the desire to do good to others. It's something that apparently flows from the source or from God or whatever it is. And that's really how we get more and more of it, is when we share and we serve and we do things for others and do it with a loving intention. So we're going to go into that at the end here. Remember that. We're going back to a few more love quotes. But I want to finish up just so we keep on the routine here. We didn't finish up the what factors, actually, on contribute to our happiness. We have the last 4 or 5 here. We went through religion and spirituality and environment's influence last time. Income, to what degree and what amount? If you look kind of the middle of your thing, under the what factors, towards the bottom portion of there. Okay, so income, how does that influence our happiness, and then to what degree? We've talked a lot about the $75,000 Princeton study they had, where basically, on average, beyond $75,000 a year, there's really no measurable increase in happiness. Basically, if you haven't learned how to be happy with that amount, you probably won't be happy with more. Now, I also talked a little bit about the interesting phenomena that when you get to a certain income level, I don't know if it's $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month, and then people start thinking, oh man, maybe I do have real possibilities, and then you start thinking bigger and bigger. Sometimes there's a dissatisfaction that comes that you didn't have so much when you were at the lower incomes, because then you start seeing real possibilities, and I can make it, and then you're not satisfied, being there, because you think, oh, and I can be in the big pond, or I can, whatever it is, greener on the other side. We're not going to go into a whole bunch into that because I've covered, income in that. You all know that if you do get larger amounts of income, you don't want to spend it, increase your lifestyle real quickly. You want to do that gradually because you will satiate. That's just the way it is. So if you're going to satiate in degrees, little by little, up at a couple hundred a month, or whatever. Don't up at all of a sudden a couple thousand a month just because you got an increase of 2,000 a month. You do remember on the income and level that happiness studies actually show even with a really low, below poverty level amount of 13,000 a year. Now that has been about 15, 20 years ago, and maybe it really hasn't doubled the last 20 years. It hasn't changed that much. It's kind of stagnated. Yeah, so maybe 16,000. So you can actually be, quite happy if you got the right attitude with that much, 12, 1,300 a month or whatever. Not, like I said, I've known a number of people that are around 1,000 a month or less, right around that range, 900 to maybe 11, 1,200. Four or five out of the 6 or 7 that I know that have told that to me are dissatisfied. I mean, they're not real happy about it, but they're okay. They're sharing a room or whatever. 2 of them are really happy with it and doing really well. And so it's definitely, an attitude thing. I mean, they're not starving to death. They do have a roof over their head, and maybe not so much freedom sometimes with transportation and that, but there's bus service. There's a lot of things you can get around. So it pretty much comes to an attitude against, once you got your survival needs taken care of. I will throw this out to you just to think about it. What do you think is the amount of money that if you weren't greedy about it, but you really, you'd like to travel, you'd like to have some freedom to do some things and get some experiences what do you kind of think it would require? And I'm saying on spendable money each month for you to feel like you're living a first-class life. I mean, a wonderful, amazing life, but not get into the greed section, but be able to experience how much a month do you think that might be or look?
For me, it'd be 8,000.
8,000 a month? Okay. Anybody else?
It would require I'd have to go back to work, and I'm not doing it.
No, I'm just saying, if you all, you're thinking too realistically.
I'm sorry.
This is theoretical. I'm saying,
I'd have to work too much.
if you had how much, if you want a Westinghouse clearinghouse or whatever, I'm just saying, how much would you need of money? Oh, come on in. Daniel, yeah, sure. How much would it be that you just feel like you're just living the life? I mean, really living the dream. And so let's say, in this case, let's say that you had a very minimal amount of payment, your house or things kind of paid off. And then you don't have a car payment. You might have to do gas money. Do you think it's just kind of your spendable income beyond it?
Well, if all of that was paid off,
then maybe
I'd
more like
say
6,000 or
less
7,000.
than- Yeah,
Okay.
I'd say maybe 5,000.
Maybe 5,000. Okay, so think about 5,000. So actual spendable income to be enjoying things.
I would be 5,000.
5,000. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And 6,000. Okay. Anyone else?
1,000.
1,000. Nice. So that one that's running for president now, the Yang. He wants to offer everybody
He's a good math person.
1,000 a month. So if he does that, you'll have it. In addition to what you've already got.
I'm already good.
Yeah, you probably are. What about you? Yeah.
I couldn't give you a number because each month is different. If the bills are paid and I don't need to do anything that month, that's one thing. But if I want to go out and enjoy myself, the other thing is I don't want to enjoy myself by myself. So, if I'm going to dinner, I'd like to pay for it.
Be able to pay for
So,
somebody. Yeah.
I couldn't really give you a number.
Okay.
It would be hard. Minimum, if everything was paid off, 5,000.
About 5,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5,000 seems to be a minimum. 1,000 is a really good. In fact, you can participate in this too, Daniel. We're just asking if you have your basic bills taken care of, your housing's paid for, your car's paid for, your food's paid for. How much spending money do you think you would want to have to feel like you're living a really great life without getting into too much greed, but a really great, amazing life? How many extra 1,000 a month or whatever would that be?
10.
10,000, okay.
Mhm.
So we have ranging from about 1,000 to 10,000. Had a lot of 5s and 6,000s and kind of that range. Okay, interesting. I actually had a thing that I was working out where I called it the life of sevens. And basically I said at $7,000 a month, you could pretty much do, mostly spendable income. you could pretty much, if you didn't get a degree, I mean, obviously you couldn't do private jet and everything, and maybe you couldn't fly first class all the time, but you could travel a heck of a lot, you know, 7,000 a month. I mean, you could be taking really major trips 3, 4, or 5 times a year. You could be taking weekend things off. You could be doing something with friends. I mean, a really, really good life. Now, people, when they get to that level, and a lot of people have, then they usually get more greedy, and then they want to, I hear some of the ones I know that are multi-millionaires that reach out and they say, well, it's 20,000 a month. This 20,000, I don't know what the 20,000 is, but I've heard that with a lot of them. When they get beyond that, 6,000, 7,000. And then some of the people in Japan that were going out every night and going to these hostess clubs and everything, it was like a 20,000 a month thing. So it gets more greedy. And when they get beyond that, then pretty soon they're getting to where they want a private jet, and then it really gets big. And you're talking 50, 100,000 a month and more like that. Crazy stuff. But yeah, this is all reasonable. Rich. Mary, how you doing there? So yeah, interesting. So the 1,000 to 10,000, I think this 7,000, that's kind of what I said, that I think if most people somewhere around there, you had $7,000 mostly spendable income, you have a pretty dang good life. And you pretty much do everything this world has to offer as far as, reasonable entertainment and anything like that. Okay, someday we'll do a survey and get more.
Would the house payment be included in that amount too?
Yeah.
So you'd have to pay rent, or would?
Well, no, you would have your house paid for.
Oh, okay.
This life of 7 that I was talking about, I said, does anybody really need more than this? They got their house paid, they got their car paid, all this kind of stuff. Have 7,000 spendable income. That seems like a pretty good life.
That's a lot.
Yeah, maybe if you're in New York or some of those places, maybe you want a little bit more, but I think 7 to 10,000 somewhere around there. Okay. Last time we went through religion and spirituality, talked about that. Income, we just talked a little on that. Okay, health. What factors contribute to our happiness on the health and diet and exercises influence? How much do you think that actually influences our mind? Being healthy or not healthy, or exercising or not exercising? A lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And you think it has a pretty direct influence with the mind? Yeah, even physiologically, even the cells in the body and everything, and obviously how tired we get and all those type of things. That's influenced, of course, by our health, what we're eating and exercising. Now, exercise too, of course, it increases the flow in the body. Your heart actually don't have to work as hard. You go from so many beats per minute down to a lower beat per minute. Shantari had quite a drop when you started that. So everything just functions better. You're not getting as tired and the whole bit. So it definitely has a huge impact on your well-being, your sense of well-being, how you feel, even how things will affect you and how much, that'll kind of throw you into a funk or whatever. So that's another big reason. It's not just for health aspects. It's obviously for, mental aspect as well. Plus there's not only that, the self-discipline aspect of it, which adds to your self-esteem, the balance it creates, all of those things. Hey, Bettina, how are you? Those all make a huge difference. Oh, you gotta be.
Okay, that's fine.
This has got the camera on there.
That's the live stream.
I couldn't get that to that
Okay.
direction. I sent it
That
in the other
works.
direction.
So yeah, indeed, the exercise, the eating. What do you think there's a difference? And I wonder a little bit about this. If you have pretty good health and you're in pretty good shape, better than average, and you're kind of what you want to be, as opposed to having super good shape, like maybe some of the real athletes and everything. Do you think there's much of a difference there between really good shape and unbelievable shape? I don't even see anything, I suppose. Your heart would be even lower rate class and everything, that it probably wouldn't be worth it for most people unless they're going to get a gold medal or they're going to make a huge amount of money from it. So basically, and this is one of the things too, you want to find your optimum level of health, because that's going to contribute to your happiness. So find what that is. It doesn't want to be something where you have to spend hours and hours a day doing it on your workouts. And I had to come to that conclusion too, because I used to work out a lot more, when I was younger, in my 20s and that. I had a lot of times do an hour or two a day of workouts. Then I got it down to 3 times a week, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I did that for quite a number of years. And then I was able to maintain pretty good with twice a week. And I figured I can do this for a lifetime if it's twice a week. And I probably could have done 3 times a week. But I don't know if you get too far beyond that and it's too much exercise, then it probably isn't something you would do for a lifetime. First of all, you need to get in the shape you need to, and that's going to require more But once you get to that optimum level, you should be able to maintain it with 3 times of, including maybe some weight training in that, or 2 times a week. How dedicated, ask yourself this too, how much time do you think you could really dedicate and commit to, let's say exercise-wise, to get yourself to where you really feel like you're in very good shape for your body build, for your age, or for whatever it is? How many hours a week, or how many times a week? Anybody there?
Would they or should they?
No, what do you feel? You could, if health, hopefully this will become more and more important to you in this class too, because this doubles as a health class, even though it's a happiness class. How many hours a week do you think you could dedicate to and kind of stick with long term of working out per week?
For me, I used to do three days a week. That's
Okay.
Now 2.
All right.
A good 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Sometimes I try before I go to work.
Okay. So you're down about 2 times a week, about 30, 40 minutes of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something you feel like you probably do for a lifetime, right?
Right.
Okay. That's pretty minimal too.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know you can do it. That's fine.
Besides working, besides walking,
Yeah. Okay.
in the community.
Right. Okay. I want you to kind of think of what the maximum is that you think you could commit to. Now, maybe that is your maximum. That's okay too. Anybody else?
Normal for me is an hour a day every day.
Okay, like 6, even 7 days a week?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it won't be the same thing every day, but it's at least an hour.
Okay.
And it's every single day.
Okay. That's something you feel like you can commit to?
And I've done it for long periods of time. I have done it.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I can commit to it. It's just, to me, that's just 1 hour. So,
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
I could probably give, hour and a half a week or 2 hours maybe.
Okay. So you can maybe split that into
I'm
3.
actually, that would be a big deal because I give 0. I'm very lazy.
But if you could do an hour and a half, you could do 3 times 30 minutes a shot. Or if you could give 2 hours, you could do 40 minutes. Really
3
good.
times
Yeah,
30.
3 times really, when you're starting out, you kind of do need a minimum of 3 times at
To
least.
bump
Well,
blood to my brain.
Yeah, and then to get yourself, where you want to be, shape-wise, health-wise, everything.
See, I joined this, not joined, I got this program that addresses women's metabolic. In other words, it heals the metabolism
Right.
and then makes you lose the weight, but it's very stressful, very high intensity exercise 3 times a week. And I did that and I wound up losing a lot of inches before. Then I was more motivated now because I was with my fiance at the time. So now it's like, I don't want to do this alone, that's my issue, because I got everything now, I'm ready to start.
Yeah.
I got the videos, because it worked before, but that's the problem, I need
I don't like
an
to do. I
account.
don't like to do it alone. I'm lazy when it comes to
Okay, now,
Accountability.
this is a really important
I like the buddy
point.
system.
This is an important point, though, that I got addressed, because most people will encourage you to buddy system, and you should if you can. Certainly, that makes it easier. But at some point, you've got to get to whether that buddy showed up or they had the flu or anything else, you do it anyway. If you don't get to that commitment level, they move or things like that, it'll fall apart for you. It's definitely not going to be a lifetime program. So what I want you to just think about here is, what is the minimal again? The maximum amount that I could commit to, even if it had to be by myself, I could get it through, and I could do this kind of for a lifetime. And I hope that most of you would think like at least an hour and a half a week, 3 times 30 minutes. Ideally, that would be more like, an hour 3 times a week would be even better. But if you could at least do the 30 minutes 3 times a week, push-ups, sit-ups, a lot of things like that. Get yourself in 10, 15 minutes of hard aerobics on a stationary bike or something like that. That's why it requires almost 40 minutes. You really can maintain a pretty decent level. It'll have a great effect on your happiness, your self-esteem, everything else. Now, self-esteem, we'd like it all to be associated with character, and mainly I do still want you to do that, but this other will definitely be a benefit and help if you can get your body more, where you want it to be.
No, I was gonna say, even between those 30, 40 minutes, I'm going to the gym or whatnot, just walk, and even in between, during the week, I'm still 15 minutes, I'm still lifting weights. And
Okay.
going up and down the steps.
Right.
I park a long way and I walk, things like that, so.
Yeah, and that factors in too. That's true. If you have a more active lifestyle, you might get by on less of that and not need so much of the intensive aerobics. But I've just found that sometimes, whether it might be raining outside or different things happen, if you can just kind of commit to that, first of all, 3 times a week, and it's nice if you can do 5, 6, 7 times a week, certainly. And make that a lifetime habit, an irrevocable decree, like I talked about, like I did when I was 27. I've done that for 36, 37 years now. it will definitely serve you well and be the best habit that you could really ever develop, probably. One of the very best.
So I just want to say the phone is a really good support because there are all these apps on it.
That's true.
And
We have
that's
that.
when
With
I
the steps.
kicked in,
Yeah.
6,000 steps, and you think, oh yeah, right. Well, then you get going,
There's some up in Utah using that now.
and I don't even have to turn it on. The damn thing does it itself.
That's true, yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I've already done this. Isn't this nice? And it tells me that.
Exercise,
Sure.
especially with something like that. And you were going to say
I
something.
was gonna say in terms of like going to the gym, it's the discipline of consistently going to the gym. Because some people, they get into a routine where they don't go. And so if you get yourself into a routine where you go either this day or that day, make sure you have specific days that you go, then you're actually, it's like you're programming your mind to actually know that you have to go that day.
Definitely do that, as you know. I mean, I definitely program the days I go, and there's some rare times when just the day is just so busy, but I'll make sure I did it in the morning, whereas I was going to do it at night. I mean, I definitely get it within a 24-hour period and keep that 2 times a week. Now, the last thing, we talked about this before too. Remember, and this has to do with the self-esteem and everything else. When you get this image of who it is that you really want to be, who you are, I mean, we have this kind of ideal. Hopefully you'll have like a 1 year from now, you or the project, we're thinking kind of 1 year hence. And of course, you're writing a book and the ability to do. But get this image in your mind of who it is that you really want to be, and then act as if. We talked about that before. So really start acting as if you are that. But I somehow, and this oftentimes, again, you think back on why is it with me that it's not even a question anymore. When did that actually occur? And I think it was way back probably in my 20s. You get feedback there too. I mean, you get in shape in that, and people, have feedback, especially if you're at the gym, and that becomes a good positive loop and circle where it feeds you. That needs to become really important to you, is what I'm trying to say. That means become super important. You have that, not only that image, you become that, and you just never want to lose it. First of all, you got to gain it and get there if you're not there now. But after you get it, you never want to lose it. In fact, be a little bit fearful of losing it. I don't ever think fear when I'm doing it, because it's just, I just do it. I just enjoy being in super health and everything else. But if I really analyze it and think in the back of my mind, it would scare me in a way to just not do anything, just eat a bunch of crap, not exercise and everything, start getting overweight. I told you I experimented with it once for about 2 or 3 weeks and purposely gained about 6 or 7 pounds and got a little bit here. I just didn't like it. And so as I said, I'm never going to do that again. But anyway, you want to get, first of all, you got to get to it, and then you want to keep it, and you want to just have that so ingrained that is who you are. And when you present yourself and everything, everybody thinks, yeah, she's that the lady, that guy that's in really good shape and happy all the time and whatever it is. And the same thing with your happiness. You want to be that person with that strong mind, just like the strong body. And when people meet you, you're always up, even when you're going through difficult times. You get that image of yourself, you start feeding it, you get feedback, you get the system. I mean, it just all works for the good. But you will be tempted like crazy to let that go, because it does require some effort. Not a lot, because like I said, 3 times a week, I mean, when you get there, 30, 40, 60 minutes, you can maintain it. But if it's deeply ingrained enough in your psyche, it's who you are, it's what other people expect, and it's just who I'm going to be for the rest of my life, you should be able to keep it. And you got to think that's deep, and we'll go through this more. Until a person gets to that point, they a lot of times will let it go after a while. So you have to get to that vantage point where it's so much who you are, it's so much what everybody expects you to be, and it's so much a part of, Edward, this is who Edward is, or, Bettina, this is who you are, or whatever. When you get to that point, then you can probably keep it for a lifetime. So really be working on getting it to that point, okay?
Maintaining it.
Yeah, maintaining it, and that is just who you are, and you would never let it go, Okay? Let's go to the next one, the health, diet, and exercise, relationships. Okay. How conducive are relationships to happiness? Any quick little?
Well, if you're around negative people, that definitely affects your life.
Okay, so it can be a bad thing.
Yes.
Right? Okay, it can be a bad thing, right? Anyone else what do you think about relationships and how it contributes to our happiness? Or doesn't?
It does.
We need relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just go out in the mountains and just sit there. You go a little weird after a while, we do need people.
You do variety, so that you don't rely on one person to do everything.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah,
that
that's called
helps balance it out.
codependency. You don't want to get into that.
Uh-huh.
Where your happiness depends on another person. That I'm fighting all the
Yeah,
time
yeah.
right now.
And we talked about that
I have a problem with that.
Right, right. Yeah, you do have to get to a vantage point where you thoroughly enjoy being with that person, but of course you can be by yourself too. If you go in, again, too much of a D-love or a deficiency love, that's always a problem, because then you make me happy. I need you to be happy, as opposed to I'm already, pretty happy already. This just augments my happiness. And in that sense, a relationship can be the best thing ever. I mean, it is true that actually, a person can be happy single, and especially if they have a lot of relationships. But if you have an ideal relationship, in general, they would probably be happier than just somebody that, didn't have these relationships, even if they got to a pretty good mental state. It's just that ability to interact. I guess your relationship with God, though, I mean, if you develop that to a certain level, like Peace Pilgrim did, she was able to be unbelievably high, but that took many, many years to get to that type of.
Who is that?
Peace Pilgrim, the one that we talk about quite a bit, the little pamphlet that you got, the one that walked across the United States for 28 years. We'll give you it after.
Okay.
If you join there, then you'll have the actual book we'll be giving to you as well.
Okay.
But on the relationships, I'm not going to go too much into it today because we want to finish up at least this lesson. I would just say that if the relationship, to be able to determine more quickly whether it's conducive to your happiness and not conducive, especially if you're just getting into a relationship, or if you're in a relationship already, most people let it drag on a lot longer than it really needs to do, I've noticed. And a lot of times they'll take a lot longer too, sometimes be afraid even to get in relationships because of the backlash of that. Be able to kind of, as you get older, even in business decisions and different things, you should be able to determine a lot quicker. Instead of taking months or a year or two to figure out if this is going to work or not, you should be able to figure it out, real quickly. Hopefully within weeks, and on business decisions, sometimes within minutes or hours. You should say, nah, these personalities, these things, I see all kinds of things that this is not going to work, even though they're giving a great talk and they're really presenting themselves well. You've got to be able to see through that, because we tend to project on the other person how we want them to be, and that is not necessarily who they are. And as you date them a little bit or whatever, you start seeing the telltale signs of that, of course. We keep thinking, oh, we can change it, But at any rate, become better at discerning. And in fact, you might, I don't know if you'd say pride yourself on that, but just think as a matter of maturity, and we're going to get into Maslow's things here, the last part of it, you should be able to discern better than the average person, obviously better than a 15-year-old. They should be able to make a more mature decision or analyze things better at 50 than you did at 15, right? So by that same token, you should be getting better and better. If you keep having, we have terrible relationships, keep making bad decisions and everything, we're not making decisions much better than we did in our teen years or 20s. So I think, hey, I got to do a little more maturing in that area and be able to discern these things and figure these things out a little bit quicker. And whatever blinders I got on, or whatever rose-colored glasses or whatever it is, I better start seeing reality, a little better. And that kind of actually would take us into to Maslow's thing. It does stand here. It says age, intelligence, gender, attractiveness, etc. Okay, real quickly. I think we've talked about this before, but on age, do you think that contributes, being younger or older, to happiness? Intelligence, let's say, if you have really low intelligence, that might be more difficult. But if you have average intelligence as opposed to really high intelligence, what do you think on those?
What? I actually could comment on that subject. There's this guy, Vern, he has this thing called integrity tonal scale.
Okay.
You just Google integrity tonal scale, Vern he has this thing. And it's a little book. And actually, he says all these different levels of integrity, like, certain people that have certain integrity, they call them different, names. Mm-hmm. Like they'll always say they're sorry when they're wrong, or, and they can be a leader, or, the higher levels and the lower levels of maturity and like that. And they say that you in a relationship, you can't be with somebody that's either more than 2 levels higher than you or 2 levels lower than you, or it won't work. Your relationship won't work. Yeah. That's what I've heard.
Well,
and I kind of think it's true
that
in a
makes
way.
Sense. Unless the other person that's higher is willing to teach. And
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's usually hard if it's more than 2 levels higher or lower.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. On the, I actually, when I'm thinking on this, because I really would like to spend a little bit more time even with the relationship and then in control of the emotions, we're going to transfer that over into our August lesson outline, because I wanted to get a little bit into Scogli here in this left part here. And also, so let's just say, let me just ask this just to kind of see what you think. What do you think on age? Do you think there's a happier age? Do you think you'd be happier in your teens, 20s as opposed to 50s or 60s? Or what do you think happens?
I think it's supposed to be that way, that the older you get, the happier you are, but it's not necessarily that way. It depends on the person and
Very much so, yeah.
either their maturity or the things that they surround themselves with.
Yeah.
Like social media, they say for millennials, for us, that social media is totally changing things, making people either hate themselves or other people and compare their lives to other people, which could make, millennials unhappy. But it depends on the person, though.
Yeah.
It depends on the TED Talks they listen to or don't listen to.
They probably don't listen to TED Talks.
Yeah, probably.
Right, because that's positive usually, or something to learn.
Interesting, then you did say, it's true that if we were maturing right, with age, our happiness level should go higher.
Mm-hmm.
But the general culture is so much, youth and attractiveness and all that kind of stuff. And that's one of the next ones here, where they think a lot of time people going back to their high school days, just that was the greatest time and everything. And so we do tend to put an emphasis on, youth being, wonderful, and that's happy. And then we get older, then decrepit, and, that's unhappy. And even though that shouldn't be the case, that's true, you get older. But no, that happens with a lot of people.
You should have more wisdom by the time we're old.
Yeah, you should have the wisdom, and you should be able to entertain yourself better, not get bored. You should have a lot of things going for you, making better decisions, the whole bit. But unfortunately, a large percentage of people don't mature